The war had ended, but the silence it left behind was louder than the cannons that once shook the earth. The smoke of battle still clung to the air in the spring of 1865. 4 million enslaved people, men, women, and children, stepped out of the shadows of bondage. In Washington, powerful men gathered in dark wooden rooms to answer a question that no war could solve on its own, and into a freedom they had only dreamed about in whispered prayers. For President Abraham Lincoln, the answer had begun to take shape even before the guns fell silent. On a warm April night in 1865, just days after victory, Lincoln sat inside Ford's Theater. Then a gunshot shattered that hope. So Johnson began handing power right back to the same Southern leaders who had led the rebellion. The man who took his place, Andrew Johnson, was a very different kind of leader. By sunrise the next morning, he was gone, and with him died the fragile vision he had for rebuilding the country. The man began handing power back to the same leaders who had previously held it, and the laws that followed were chilling. Across the South, new rules emerged called Black Codes. In the North, outrage exploded. Newspapers printed furious editorials. In some places, if a black man could not prove he had a job, he could be arrested for vagrancy and forced into labor. Almost overnight, former Confederate politicians returned to office. Abolitionists who had fought for decades against slavery realized the war had not finished the job. In 1866, Congress passed a powerful piece of legislation, the Civil Rights Act. In a historic moment, a powerful piece of legislation was passed. President Johnson vetoed it. Members of Congress, particularly a group known as the Radical Republicans, began to push back. Then they went even further. In the 19th century, a significant amendment was ratified. Their mission was simple: to intimidate and create fear. Those who tried to vote faced obstacles. But laws written in distant places had to survive the reality of the time. And the reality was challenging. Their mission was simple: to intimidate and create fear. Those who tried to vote faced obstacles. Educators faced many challenges in their mission. It was messy, it was chaotic, but it was also revolutionary. Learning spaces emerged in unused buildings where individuals, some of them adults learning to read for the first time, studied letters by candlelight. Families separated by historical events searched desperately for one another, posting newspaper ads with heartfelt messages. In a time of change, people gathered in unity across the region. Families separated by slavery searched desperately for one another, posting newspaper ads with heartbreaking messages. During Reconstruction, black men voted in massive numbers across the South. Schools appeared in abandoned buildings where children, some of them adults learning to read for the first time, studied letters by candlelight. Some were elected to local offices. Others became state legislators. A few even rose to the halls of Congress in Washington. Infrastructure projects were launched. It was messy. It was chaotic. But it was also transformative. Yet revolutions create enemies. White supremacist groups grew stronger. Political compromise in Washington weakened the federal commitment to protecting black rights. Northern voters, exhausted by years of conflict, slowly turned their attention elsewhere. Behind closed doors, powerful politicians struck a secret deal. If Hayes became president, federal troops would be withdrawn from the South. By the mid-1870s, the energy behind Reconstruction was fading. Then came the election of 1870s. Almost immediately, Southern governments fell into the hands of men determined to reverse everything Reconstruction had built. New laws, later known as Jim Crow, began stripping black citizens of their rights. You can't read it. Move along. Voting restrictions appeared. In 1877, the soldiers left. In 1877, the soldiers left. Segregation spread. The dream of equality that had flickered so brightly after the Civil War slowly dimmed under decades of discrimination. The 15th declared that the right to vote could not be denied because of race. The 14th promised citizenship and equal protection. Those words remained etched into the nation's foundation, waiting. And yet, Reconstruction left something behind that could not be erased. The Constitution itself had changed. using them as legal weapons in the fight for equality. In a strange way, Reconstruction was both a beginning and an unfinished sentence. Because the question that haunted America after the Civil War still lingers in quiet corners of the national calm. Nearly a century later, during the civil rights movement of the 1950s and 1960s, activists would return to those very amendments. When a nation tries to rebuild itself from the ashes, Reconstruction tried to answer that question. And in many ways, today, when we talk about justice, equality, and the meaning of citizenship, we are still walking through the echoes of that era. And when a society tries to rebuild itself from challenges, Reconstruction tried to answer that question.